Welcome to the Digital Hoofprint Podcast, where brands mean what they say, culture is designed to deliver, and the leaders, well, they give a damn about being different. Each week, I talk brand, culture, and creativity with founders, leaders, entrepreneurs, and makers who are building what they believe in. I'm your host, Abriana Johnson, and this show will give you a glimpse into how leaders align their brand and culture for sustainable growth. Your brand promise is only as strong as your ability to deliver it. So let's get into it. All right, so let's get into it today. Let's get into why most rebrands fail and what you can do about that, what you can do differently to make sure that you are not one of them. Now, some of the most famous rebrands in history were famous because of their success. But there were some that were made famous because of their flops. When we look at brands like, say, Dunkin' Donuts, who dropped the donuts, now they're just Dunkin'. Or like Coach, who has really gained cultural relevancy recently through new designs and a deep understanding of the purchasing behaviors of Gen Z. We see those examples of what happens when you actually get a rebrand right. However, when we look at brands like, X, formerly known as Twitter, that people still refer to as Twitter, or even the recent Cracker Barrel hoopla, we start to see a pattern emerge where there are some brands that make a big investment to rebrand, but they simply miss the mark. In this episode, we're talking about the key indicators. Not only that a rebrand is necessary, but why they have a tendency to fail and how I kind of approach this brand alignment in a way to ensure their success. When a client comes to me after a rebrand or a relaunch or a re-something in their business, one of my first questions to them is, what made you decide to rebrand? What made you decide to relaunch? The answer, the answer to this question oftentimes holds the key to the challenges that they're still having inside of their business. Oftentimes, a rebrand is like this dopamine hit. It's a process that offers a lot of dopamine that business owners think will actually solve deeper, more foundational business problems. But before we talk about why they fail, let's talk about why they might be a good idea, just so that we're all on the same page. Now, one of the reasons a rebrand is a good idea is when you're, say, rolling out a new offer, something that shifts the way that you serve customers. So, let's say, for example, you own a gym, and it started out with fitness classes. But now you are introducing a full-on nutrition coaching program. With a new offer like that on the table, maybe your old brand doesn't match your new direction. And you may decide to rebrand to better support this more holistic approach of your offer. Another indicator that a rebrand is a good idea is that you're entering a new market. Maybe you have been very successful in a local market, but now you're maybe moving online or expanding to another state or even going global, getting some international business. The identity that brought you the success in your local area may not resonate with a new audience, especially if you're crossing cultures. That new audience could even be a new generation. Now, whatever new lane you want to enter or new audience you want to target might require a different approach to your business to truly minimize confusion and resistance. Rebranding or expanding your brand might put you in the position to be more successful in those markets. And then there's a shift in positioning, your brand positioning in general. Sometimes you realize your brand is being perceived in a way that doesn't actually match who you are anymore. And seeing where brand alignment falls flat is a major indicator that you need to reset the expectations around your business. I remember growing up, Old Spice. It was like that kit that you got at Rose's or at Kmart. Those gifts that nobody really wants, but somebody buys you something for Christmas, and it's like the little toiletry fragrance, a lotion deodorant or a lotion perfume, or for men like the deodorant and something else, I don't know. But Old Spice, it was like old man stuff. It was like your granddaddy's deodorant. But now, like the last decade, it's been fun. It's this witty, like modern, full of memes brand, and they are now like, embracing it. Like, smell like a man. That's their whole campaign. That's where that kind of positioning and rebrand works. Now, I didn't spend too much time about that because, all of those reasons are perfectly valid. But the real story is that even though some of those indicators make sense, sometimes rebrands still aren't executed to their full potential. And it's not necessarily because the timing was wrong or anything like that. It's kind of because of what happens afterwards. The next thing, once the decision to rebrand has already been made. And I promise you, most companies go into rebrands with good intentions, okay? They know something's not working and they're ready to make a change, but sometimes instead of solving the root problem, they end up putting a really expensive Band-Aid on it. And I've identified a few good reasons why they simply missed the mark. When I say a few, I mean like 7. I love a good 7, and you're going to see why in just a little bit. But the first mistake, the first reason why a lot of rebrands fail is that there is this like new logo, new me, like the same way we are at the beginning of the year, knowing good and well we're not going to hold on to our New Year's resolutions. Leaders convince themselves that a fresh color palette or new fonts or a new website will change how people see the business. And it has the potential to, but that can't be the only thing. Because if nothing else changes, if the way you operate or the way your team communicates or the way that the other leaders in your organization show up, if none of that changes, then the new logo, is just like putting lipstick on a pig. The customers aren't fooled. And we know, as consumers, we know when there's something that's just cosmetic that is changing. I don't know if y'all remember when Gap changed their logo to that little square. It was like, what is that? People hated it. And I'm not saying that it is the designer's fault. I don't know what their brief was. I am not cracking on the designer. But what I am saying is that there was just a huge disconnect. That imagery did not feel connected to who they were as a brand. So within a week, they scrapped it and they went back to the old one. And we just experienced that same whiplash with Cracker Barrel. They sacrifice the heritage and the nostalgia of a brand for this more like modern VC take, not realizing that their customers don't come to them for modernity. They don't come to them because they want them to be into the future. No, they come to them because it's the past. In the past, I have had customers that, want bigger and brighter logos. That was back when I was doing brand design. And to say like, ooh, can you make it pop? Or can you make this color this way? With no regards for accessibility or what it looks like blown up. Say it was on a billboard. None of those things really are factored in when the request is made. But even sometimes after finishing several drafts, they end up showing me a logo of one of their competitors, and they're like, ooh, let's do it more like this. For me, there is like a deeper mindset challenge happening in those cases, and it's something that a logo revamp will not address. I mean, it's just not the solution for that. Another mistake, that leads us right into our next mistake, is solving the wrong problem. Why rebrands don't work is because many people solve the wrong problem. Sometimes leaders come into rebrands thinking, if I can just change how we look, people will stop seeing the flaws that we have. The problem is much deeper than that. It could look like customers not trusting you because of your inconsistency. It could look like your employees being burnt out and your turnover rate being so high that you just cannot achieve consistent customer service. Maybe what you offer is confusing to everybody. If you invest in a rebrand without addressing the actual issue, many times rebranding exposes those cracks in your foundation even more. And this is why I just encourage brand leaders to be honest with themselves. What is the problem that we are trying to solve here? Is it truly that our logo feels outdated, or is it that our business has outgrown the way that we used to talk about ourselves? The third reason why rebrands fail is that this idea that brand is only a function of the marketing department or the marketing team. When business leaders see branding as something that only the marketing team handles, they miss the bigger picture. Branding is not just the ads and the Instagram posts and the promotions. Branding is how people experience your business at every touch point. And when I say people, I mean consumers, employees, stakeholders, and even you as a brand leader. It is how your employees are trained, how customer service responds, and how you as a brand leader makes decisions. If your external brand promise doesn't line up with your internal culture, your brand will probably fall apart. And this is where, in my opinion, brand leadership really matters, because if you don't embody the brand or inspire others to, no amount of marketing will make that real. Number 4, why most rebrands fail is in the operational inconsistencies. Now, this is when your systems don't match your story. You cannot claim to be innovative if your website is outdated or if your customer service takes 3 days to respond. You can't say you're about quality if your products are poor quality and returning them is a nightmare. You cannot say that your business values sustainability if you are not taking the measures to develop more sustainable products or services, or if your say your building that you're in does not have practices that are in line with sustainability. Your operations either reinforce your brand or undermine it. And this is where brand leaders have to look in the mirror, because operations are about choices. Like, do you invest in training? Do you simplify processes? Do you prioritize customer experiences in the way you staff and structure your business? When leaders see operations as separate from branding, in my opinion, that is where confusion goes to live and stay. I believe that your brand isn't just a promise you make to your customers. It's your ability to deliver on that promise consistently. The fifth reason why most rebrands fail is because of mixed messaging. Say that 5 times fast. It's because of mixed messaging. A brand can't be everything to everybody. And when leaders try to hold on to like old positioning and adopt new positioning, it creates confusion. I mean, internally, like, if your employees don't know how to talk about the organization, if they're not sure what you do now after a shift, your customers are not going to know what to expect. And as a leader, you have to make that call, because you can't straddle the fence and hope that the market, I guess, decides who you are. I don't know if you grew up in the South or in listening to Black gospel music, but there's a song that says, you can't straddle, can't straddle, can't straddle, can't straddle the fence. Think about that. In your conversations about your position in the market, I want you to think about that song. You cannot straddle the fence. The sixth reason why most rebrands fail is one of the most important ones. The last two are really 6 and 7. Number 6 is that you fail to engage the employees. The employees are the ones who deliver on your brand promise every day. If they don't understand the rebrand or don't feel connected to this new vision, then it won't matter what your website says. If the employees don't understand the rebrand or don't feel invested in it, the time, energy, and money will be a waste. They won't be able to articulate the change. Rebranding is not just a new poster in your shared space. It starts and ends with in-depth conversations, with trainings, with outlining new practices and rituals that are specifically built into your culture. Brand leaders have to create buy-in with their employees, not just announce change from the top. And lastly, the biggest reason why rebrands fail is because the leadership itself does not embody the change. If you don't take anything else away from this episode, I need you to know this. This is the primary reason why rebrands fail, and I probably should have counted backwards from 7. Instead of counting up, but that's fine. Here we are. You can't expect employees to believe in a rebrand if you, as the leadership team, doesn't model it. Leaders are the business's first brand ambassadors. And if you're asking your team to act differently, to show up differently, but you're not showing up any differently yourself, there is an obvious disconnect. People follow what you do. not just what you say. We remember that from growing up with parents as well. When they say, do as I say, not as I do. No, that breeds frustration. That just does not work. And it does not work in the workplace either. A rebrand really does require a cultural reset, and culture starts at the top. Brand leaders should be asking themselves, am I the first example of the brand that I want others to embody? Please remember that rebranding your business is a really fun process. I have enjoyed working with leaders to redefine their vision and redefine the expression of their business. But this process requires you to engage people in the story. Are you creating that buy-in? Are you just announcing the change and hoping everybody will be all right with it? What I've found in my time working with clients is that it's very natural to be so close to the business that you can't see the issues. You can only feel the symptoms. And this is why I've been working over time to develop these 7 pillars of brand alignment to kind of help identify the root cause of, this brand as business management style challenges and help you contextualize how to address them. Now, I'm not going to go in depth into all of these because honestly, each one needs their own episode, but there are 7 of them. So let me just share them at a high level. The 7 pillars of alignment. Number 1 is your brand foundation. That is the roots, right? Roots before fruits. In the brand foundations, we're looking at your purpose, your values, your positioning, your mission and vision. This is like that core DNA that defines what your brand stands for and why it exists. Number 2 is brand expression. This is how you show up. This is the brand identity, the messaging, the story, the aesthetics, how your brand or your business shows up in the world and communicates its promise with everyone involved, consumers, employees, any other key stakeholders. Number 3 is brand practices. And this is where culture starts to come in. This facet or this pillar of alignment involves the signals, habits, and behaviors, and what leaders and teams consistently do that either strengthen or weaken their brand and culture alignment. Number 4 is brand operations. I like this one too. Well, I like all of them, but I love how this connects to the conversation. This is the systems and processes and policies that enable or block the brand from being delivered consistently. Next is number 5, the brand experience. This is the touch points. How do customers and employees actually encounter and feel your brand promise in the day-to-day? Number 6 is brand measurement. This is how we know what's working. The metrics, the milestones, the feedback loops that track alignment and keep that momentum visible. Number 7 is brand innovation. This is the evolution. This is how organizations adapt, they experiment and evolve while staying true to their foundations. Now, like I said before, I will dive deeper into each of these pillars in later episodes. But for now, I just want you to understand this. Most rebrands fail not because the design team missed the mark. Like I said before, we are not mad at the designers of the the old new Gap logo. We're not mad at the designers of the Cracker Barrel logo, okay? We don't know what their creative brief was. We're not putting this onus on them. The rebrand did not fail because of them. Most of them failed because the deeper alignment work never happened. The values, the leadership, the culture, none of that shifted to match this new brand expression. And if you're in a leadership role or running your own business, that alignment starts with you. Before you can lead a team or company or client through change, you have to know what your own operating system looks like, what you stand for, how you show up, and how your actions line up with the identity that you're projecting. And this is exactly why I created the Your Personal BrandOS webinar. It's happening on September 25th at 3 p.m., and I would love for you to join me. In this live session, I will walk you through how to identify your personal brand foundation so you know what's non-negotiable, how to embody the change instead of just talking about it, and how to use your own brand operating system to create consistency, clarity, and confidence in the way you lead. Think of it as applying these 7 pillars of alignment on a personal level so you can lead with integrity and actually make any pivots or big changes land with your team and with your customers. If you've been listening to this episode and nodding your head like, yeah, I've seen this happen, or yeah, that sounds like my group, or yes, this is something that I want to learn, this webinar is for you. So join me September 25th and other brand leaders at 3 p.m. The link to register for that webinar is in the show notes. If this conversation gave you something to think about or something to act on, do me a favor. Follow the show wherever you listen, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who's building something that matters. The Digital Hoofprint Podcast is powered by Black Unicorn Creative, where we help leaders align brand and culture by design, not default. Your support helps us keep this conversation going. See you next week.